Do you understand what I'm telling you? You am to head the belling. This is not acceptable. You need to calm down.
On a first-class flight, a successful black woman named Dr. Angela Carter, quietly carrying the authority of the FAA Administrator, is humiliated by a prejudiced flight attendant. Chelsea, who questions her right to sit in luxury, mocks her dignity and eventually slaps her in front of silent passengers. As the cabin descends into complicity, only a teenage boy dares record the truth while Angela bears the abuse in silence, revealing in time that she is not just any passenger, but the most powerful regulator in aviation. The plane lands, the system awakens, and a formal hearing unmasks Chelsea's cruelty before witnesses and executives, leading to her immediate downfall. The video goes viral, sparking global outrage as silence, laughter, and prejudice are exposed for what they are. And finally, Angela takes the stage before Congress, not as a victim but as a voice for change, declaring that safety in the skies must include dignity, delivering poetic justice as Chelsea's career crumbles, and Angela's resilience reshapes the conversation on race, power, and belonging. The carpet was too plush, the air too perfumed, the smiles too mechanical. Angela Carter knew the rituals of first class, but she also knew how easily those rituals crumbled when a black woman disrupted the expected pattern. She stepped forward, leather tote slung across her shoulder, boarding pass tucked neatly in hand. Her navy blue suit was sharp but understated. No flashy jewelry, no excessive makeup. Only a single silver pin gleamed on her lapel, a gift from her late father. Wings for tomorrow. As she approached her seat, a crisp voice cut through the cabin. "Excuse me. Ma'am, are you sure you're in the right section?" Angela turned. The flight attendant, a tall blonde with a tight bun and tighter smile, blocked her path. "Angela. Yes, 2A window." Chelsea, the attendant. "That's first class." Angela. "I'm aware." Chelsea. "May I see your ticket again?" Angela. "You scanned it at the gate." Chelsea. "Yes, but sometimes mistakes happen. The words carried sugar, but the eyes carried steel." Angela handed the boarding pass without a word. Chelsea scanned it, lips pressing together. Chelsea. Well, enjoy your flight." Angela reached for the overhead bin. Chelsea stepped closer. Chelsea. "Oh, just to remind you, these bins are reserved for first-class passengers only." Angela calmly. "I am a first-class passenger." Nearby, a man in a tailored suit chuckled. "Businessman." Maybe she wandered up from economy. Happens all the time. Chelsea, smiling at him. "Yes, we'll get it sorted." Angela slid her bag into the bin with deliberate grace. She lowered into her seat, spine straight, movements precise, as if each gesture had been rehearsed for moments exactly like this. The businessman leaned across the aisle. Businessman. "First time in first class?" Angela. "No." Businessman smirking. "You'll love it. Service here is, well, different." Angela. "I've noticed." His smile faltered, but he said no more. The cabin filled slowly. Whispers rustled like dry leaves. A young couple eyed Angela, their gaze darting between her and Chelsea. A teenage boy lifted his phone as if tempted to film, then thought better of it. Chelsea returned with a tray of drinks. She skipped Angela's row. Angela raised a hand. "Excuse me, Chelsea, yes?" Angela. "No welcome drink?" Chelsea, pausing. "Oh, did you want one?" Angela. "I thought it was offered to everyone here." Chelsea, smiling thinly. "Of course. My mistake." She returned moments later, setting a glass of water in front of Angela. Water, not champagne. The couple beside Angela exchanged knowing looks. Angela sipped without complaint. The narrator's voice, quiet, documentary-like, cut in. Racism rarely arrives wearing a hood. More often it wears a smile, pressed uniform, and the confidence that no one will object. The businessman muttered to Chelsea as she passed. "Businessman. You handled that well. Some folks just don't know their place." Chelsea's laugh was soft but sharp enough for Angela to hear. Angela reached into her tote, pulled out a black leather notebook, and began to write. The scratch of pen against paper filled the silence. Chelsea, leaning down, forced smile. "Is everything okay, ma'am?" Angela, without looking up. Everything is being documented. Chelsea straightened, color rising in her cheeks. She glanced around, seeking support. But the passengers who had been laughing moments before now found their seatbelts suddenly fascinating. The plane door closed. The captain's voice announced takeoff. Angela closed her notebook, placed it neatly on the tray table, and folded her hands. Her composure unsettled everyone more than anger ever could. The engines roared. The plane ascended and silence pressed down on first class in thick, uneasy, expectant. The storm had only begun. The seatbelt sign blinked off. A murmur of relief filled the cabin. Conversations picked up, glasses clinked, attendants moved gracefully through the aisle. Yet at Angela's seat an invisible wall of silence lingered. The couple next to her whispered, "Husband," low. "You saw that, right?" Wife, "Shh, don't get involved." Husband, "But she," wife, "Let it go. It's not our problem." Their voices dissolved into silence. Angela kept her gaze fixed on the window. Clouds stretched endlessly, white and unbothered like a world above human prejudice. She breathed slowly. Each inhale measured, each exhale a quiet refusal to crumble. Chelsea reappeared with a tray of champagne. She served the businessman first. "Chelsea, here you are, sir. Our finest vintage." Businessman, grinning. "Much appreciated." She turned toward Angela. Hesitation flickering. Angela, "Champagne, please." Chelsea, flat. "I'll see what's left." She moved on. The businessman leaned toward Angela. Smirk widening. Businessman, "You'll get used to it. Not everyone's cut out for this section." Angela, coolly. "Meaning?" Businessman, "Meaning? It's not economy. There are standards here." Angela, "Yes, standards of dignity." He blinked, thrown off by her calm tone. He gave a short laugh, trying to shake off the sting. Businessman, "Don't take it personal. She's just doing her job." Angela, "Her job doesn't involve questioning who belongs." His jaw tightened. He sipped his drink, muttering something under his breath. Across the aisle, the teenager from earlier leaned forward, phone in hand. Teenager, whispering to his mother, "I should record this." "It's not right." Mother, snatching his wrist, "Don't, put it away. We don't need trouble." Teenager, "But..." Mother, "No." The phone disappeared. Silence returned. The narrator's voice again, documentary-like. Complicity is not always cruel. Often it's fear wrapped in politeness. Fear of trouble, fear of standing out, fear of losing comfort. Chelsea returned, finally setting a glass before Angela. Bubbles fizzed, but the liquid was flat. Cheap, not vintage. Angela lifted the glass anyway, swirling it gently, then setting it aside untouched. The couple to her left shifted uncomfortably. The wife finally spoke, voice barely audible. Wife, "It's not fair what she's doing." Angela, softly. "Then why say nothing?" Wife, startled. I just... It's not my place, Angela. Silence always has a place. It builds thrones for tyrants." The wife flushed red, staring at her lap. Chelsea appeared again, this time with dinner menus. She handed them out briskly. When she reached Angela, she hesitated, then placed one down without meeting her eyes. Angela, looking up. "Thank you." Chelsea, forced smile. "Of course." She hurried off. Angela opened the menu slowly. Her hands were steady, but her jaw was tight. Every movement radiated control. She was not here to perform rage for an audience that would only dismiss it as aggression. The businessman leaned closer once more. "Businessman, let me give you some advice. Keep your head down. You'll make it easier on yourself." Angela, meeting his eyes. "Easier for me or for you?" Businessman, chuckling nervously. "You're sharp. But trust me, in this world, quiet gets you further." Angela. "Quiet has gotten us nowhere for centuries." The man swallowed, turning back to his drink. Minutes stretched. The hum of engines filled the space where courage should have lived. Angela reached for her notebook again. The pen glided smoothly. Bias wears uniforms. Prejudice serves drinks. And silence. Silence is its loudest accomplice. The teenage boy stole a glance, admiration flickering in his eyes. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but his mother's stern glance sealed his lips shut. Chelsea walked past, tray balanced, smile glued on. But her eyes, sharp, assessing, lingered on Angela longer than necessary. Angela closed her notebook. She folded her hands once more, gaze steady, expression unreadable. The narrator's voice quiet and heavy. Every witness had a choice. Most chose silence, and in their silence, cruelty found room to breathe. Above the clouds, the plane flew steady. Inside, the pressure built, silent, invisible, waiting for the spark. The clatter of cutlery echoed softly in first class. Passengers leaned back in plush seats, savoring appetizers beneath the dim glow of cabin lights. For most, it was routine. For Angela, it was the theater of bias on display. Chelsea stopped at her row, pen poised over the meal list. Chelsea, for your entree, we have filet mignon, roasted chicken, or vegetarian pasta. I'd recommend the pasta for you. Angela, calm. Filet, medium rare. Chelsea, hesitating. Are you sure? The pasta is lighter. Angela, I'm sure. Chelsea scribbled, lips pressing tight. She walked off quickly as though Angela's choice had been an inconvenience. The businessman across the aisle grinned knowingly. Businessman, don't take it to heart. She's just making sure you're comfortable. Angela, level. Do you believe that? Businessman, shrugging. She's a professional. They're trained to know what fits. Angela. What fits or who fits? His grin faltered. He looked away. When Chelsea returned with the meal, she placed the plate before Angela with deliberate force. Silverware rattling, Angela quietly. Thank you. Chelsea, smile sharp. You're welcome. Angela cut into the steak. Movements composed, though the tremor in Chelsea's hands hadn't gone unnoticed. Minutes passed. The cabin dimmed further. A hush fell, broken only by the faint rustle of pages and the clink of glasses. Then Chelsea returned again. Chelsea. Ma'am, may I see your boarding pass once more? Angela, staring. You've seen it already, twice. Chelsea. Yes, but we need to ensure seating accuracy. Sometimes. Angela, firm. Sometimes you assume people don't belong. Gasps fluttered through nearby seats. The wife beside Angela whispered, almost apologetically. Wife. She's just doing her job. Angela, without turning. Her job doesn't involve humiliation. Chelsea's composure cracked. She leaned down, voice dropping to a hiss only Angela could hear. Chelsea. Listen, I don't know how you got up here, but stop making this harder. Angela, steady. Harder for who? Chelsea, through clenched teeth. For all of us. People like you. She caught herself glancing around. But the words had already leaked, venomous and raw. Angela, quiet. Cutting. Finish it. Chelsea, snapping. People like you don't usually last long up here. The businessman chuckled nervously. The couple looked down at their laps. No one spoke. Angela picked up her pen, writing in the leather notebook with deliberate strokes. Chelsea, mocking. What are you, a reporter? Angela. Documentation has power. Chelsea, rolling her eyes. Sure, if anyone believes you. A sharp pause filled the cabin. Chelsea straightened, plastering on a smile for the rest of the passengers, as though nothing had happened. Angela's voice, soft but carrying, broke the hush. Angela. Silence is agreement. The words landed heavy not just on Chelsea, but on every watching passenger. The teenage boy across the aisle shifted uncomfortably, whispering to his mother again. Teenager. She's right. Why's nobody saying anything? Mother hushed, panicked. Because it's safer that way. Teenager. Safer for who? Angela closed her notebook and placed it on her lap. Her composure was intact, but her eyes burned with a quiet storm. Chelsea lingered at the galley, whispering furiously with another attendant. She gestured toward Angela, face flushed. The other attendant only shook his head, unwilling to step into the fire. The narrator's voice. Prejudice rarely erupts at once. It smolders, probes, tests boundaries, until one spark meets dry silence and flame consumes the room. Angela looked out the window, the clouds glowing faintly against the night sky. Somewhere below, cities twinkled with life. But here, trapped in metal and air, a reckoning was forming, and Chelsea, trembling with suppressed rage, was ready to ignite it. The cabin lights dimmed further, settling into the soft amber of night service. Most passengers reclined, drifting between movies and restless sleep. But Angela remained upright, notebook closed on her lap, gaze steady on the darkness beyond the window. Chelsea's heels clicked down the aisle. She was smiling too brightly, her body too stiff. She stopped at Angela's row, eyes narrowing at the overhead bin. "Chelsea, this bag is taking too much space. We'll need to move it." Angela, calm. "It's within allowance, my seat, my space." Chelsea, tight smile. "Other passengers need room. You'll have to adjust." Angela, "No one else has asked. Only you." Chelsea gripped the bin handle, yanking it down. She tugged at Angela's tote, jerking it against the latch. Angela rose slowly, her movements deliberate. Composed Angela, low, firm. "Do not touch my belongings." Chelsea, snapping. "You don't make the rules here." The businessman across the aisle chuckled nervously. "Businessman. She's just enforcing policy. No need to get worked up." Angela, turning her head. "Policy isn't prejudice in uniform." A ripple of gasps. The teenage boy's phone slipped into his hand, thumb hovering over record. Chelsea's breath quickened, fury bubbling beneath the smile. She yanked the tote harder. Angela's hand closed over the strap, steady, unyielding. "Angela." Quiet, steel in her tone. "Enough." Chelsea, through clenched teeth. "You people are always making things difficult." The words hung in the air like a gunshot. Passengers froze, eyes darting between the two women. Angela didn't flinch. Her silence was more damning than rage. Chelsea's hand twitched. Her face twisted, and then, in a single motion, she raised her palm and struck Angela across the face. The sound cracked through the cabin. Gasps erupted. A woman screamed. Glass rattled on a tray. For a moment, the plane itself seemed to hold its breath. Angela's head had turned with the blow, but when she looked back, her eyes were calm, her expression unbroken. She did not touch her cheek. She did not cry out. Angela, measured, cold. "You've revealed yourself." The teenage boy's phone camera glowed. His voice whispered, trembling. "Teenager, I got it." "I'm recording." His mother hissed, "Stop." But the boy didn't stop. Others began fumbling for their phones, too. Chelsea's chest heaved, the enormity of her action beginning to register. She glanced around the cabin, searching for support, but faces had shifted. Shock, discomfort, condemnation. Even the businessman looked uneasy now. Businessman, weakly. That was too much. Chelsea stammered, her voice high, defensive. "Chelsea. She was being aggressive. I had to—" Angela, cutting her off, calm as ice. "Aggression is striking the one who stood silent." Her voice carried. It echoed over the hum of engines, over the shallow breaths of stunned witnesses. Angela lowered herself back into her seat with deliberate grace. She opened her notebook, pen sliding across the page unshaken. Chelsea stood frozen, trembling, face flushed. The other flight attendant approached cautiously, whispering, "Other attendant." "Chelsea, what did you do?" Chelsea, snapping, and I was provoked. But no one nodded. No one supported. Silence closed in, heavier now, accusatory. The narrator's voice. Violence unmasks what words tried to conceal. And silence, once harmless, becomes complicit in the wound. Angela did not look at Chelsea again. She only wrote. Her presence, unbroken, was the loudest judgment in the cabin, and Chelsea, pale now, realized too late. The calm she mocked was the very storm that would undo her. The sting of the slap still lingered in the air, sharper than cabin pressurization. First class was no longer comfortable. It was suffocating. Chelsea stood stiff in the aisle, breathing shallow, her hand trembling at her side. She wanted to command, to reclaim control, but the silence of the passengers was louder than any authority she carried. The businessman cleared his throat, trying to ease the tension. "Businessman, let's not blow this out of proportion." She probably didn't mean Angela, without looking up. She meant every ounce of it. The words, low and steady, carried further than shouting ever could. The couple next to Angela whispered frantically. Husband. We should say something. Wife, panicked. And risk being dragged into it? No. Just stay quiet. Husband. But she was hit. Wife, shaking her head. Quiet. The teenage boy across the aisle held his phone steady, recording. His mother tugged at his arm, desperate. Mother. Stop filming before they confiscate it. Teenager, whispering fiercely. The world has to see this. Chelsea snapped her head toward him. Chelsea, delete that now. Teenager, no. Gasps again. For the first time, resistance from somewhere other than Angela. Chelsea's jaw clenched. She turned back to Angela, her voice rising. Chelsea, you provoked me. You, Angela, interrupting calm. I did nothing but exist where you did not want me. Her pen scratched across paper. Each word written seemed to strip power from Chelsea's voice. The other attendant, a younger black woman, hovered at the edge of the galley, eyes full of sorrow. She whispered to Chelsea, barely audible. Other attendant, you've gone too far. Chelsea, snapping, stay out of this. But the other attendant did not move closer. She lingered, torn between fear and solidarity, her silence heavier than words. The businessman, visibly uncomfortable, tried again. Businessman, maybe we should call the captain. Let him handle this. Angela, without looking up. The captain already knows. Silence travels fast. And indeed, minutes later, the captain's voice filled the cabin, careful and distant. Captain, over intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. Our crew is here to ensure your comfort and safety. If there are any concerns, please direct them discreetly to our staff. Discreetly. Safety. Comfort. Words chosen not to disrupt passengers' champagne, but to bury Angela's pain under neutrality. The narrator's voice. Systems defend themselves not by denying injustice, but by diluting it. Making the wound seem smaller than it is. Wrapping cruelty in policy. Chelsea straightened her uniform, emboldened by the captain's vagueness. Chelsea, to the passengers. See? It's handled. Now let's move on. Her smile returned, brittle, desperate. Angela closed her notebook, her voice calm, deliberate. Angela. It is not handled. It is witnessed. Every silence here is part of the record. The words spread like cracks through glass and subtle, but unstoppable. The businessmen shifted uncomfortably. The couple looked away. The mother clutched her son's arm tighter. Each of them carried the weight of complicity now, and none could meet Angela's gaze. Chelsea turned quickly, retreating to the galley. Her hands shook as she poured a drink, wine sloshing over the rim. For the first time that flight, she looked afraid, and Angela, steady and unbroken, sat in her seat as though she already knew how this story would end. The cabin was hushed, tense, a silence heavy with judgment and fear. The slap still echoed in every glance, every averted eye. Chelsea had retreated to the galley, pacing in tight circles, whispering furiously to herself. Angela sat unmoved, her notebook closed, her posture regal despite the bruise beginning to darken her cheek. She did not raise her hand to cover it. She wore the mark openly, like evidence carved into skin. The younger black flight attendant approached timidly, kneeling slightly to be at eye level. Her voice trembled. Younger attendant. Ma'am, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I know who you are, Angela, meeting her eyes. Do you? Younger attendant, nodding quickly. Yes, you're Dr. Angela Carter, the administrator of the FAA. The words carried further than a whisper should. Heads turned. The businessman froze mid-sip. The teenage boy lowered his phone in shock. Chelsea appeared instantly, laughter bursting from her like brittle glass. Chelsea. Her? Her administrator of the FAA? Please, don't be ridiculous. Businessman, hesitant. Wait, is that true? Angela, quiet, steady. It is. Chelsea, mocking. Oh, sure. And I'm the president. Come on, people, do you really believe? Angela stood slowly, her full height commanding without theatrics. She looked at Chelsea, then at the rows of witnesses, her voice carrying with unshakable calm. Angela, my name is Dr. Angela Carter. I am the administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration. Every plane in this country flies under my authority, Every airline answers to my office, including this one. Silence slammed down like turbulence. The teenage boy whispered, awestruck. Teenager, oh my God. She's telling the truth. The businessman's face drained of color. He set his glass down carefully, suddenly sober. Businessman muttering, I didn't know. Angela, turning to him, you didn't ask. Chelsea's laughter faltered. Her eyes darted from passenger to passenger, searching for support that no longer existed. Chelsea, voice cracking. She's lying. She has to be. I mean, look at her. Angela, cutting in, icy calm. Yes. Look at me. Look at who you decided could not belong here. The younger attendant stepped back, tears in her eyes. The mother of the teenage boy clutched her chest, whispering to herself as though reeling. The narrator's voice pressed in like a drumbeat. Names carry weight. Titles carry consequence. But dignity is what makes power undeniable even before it is spoken aloud. Angela lowered herself back into her seat, every movement deliberate, precise. She placed the notebook on her tray table and folded her hands over it. Chelsea's face was pale now, her mouth dry, words scrambling for purchase. Chelsea, you can't prove it. Anyone can say a name. Angela, without looking up. You'll learn soon enough. The ground will be waiting. The businessman adjusted his tie nervously, no longer smirking. The couple beside Angela avoided her gaze, guilt heavy in their silence. And Chelsea, stripped of certainty, realized that the very skies she worked beneath belonged, in truth, to the woman she had tried to erase. The descent began. The captain's voice announced final approach, too calm, too rehearsed. The seatbelt sign blinked on. But first class was still buzzing, not with small talk, but with dread. Chelsea hovered in the galley, face pale, hands fidgeting with the hem of her uniform. She had served first class 100 times, but now her throat was dry, her confidence fractured. Angela sat in silence, notebook closed, her bruise visible, her posture unyielding. She did not speak to anyone, yet her presence filled the cabin. The teenage boy leaned toward his mother, phone still in hand. Teenager, she's the FAA head. This is going to blow up. Mother, whispering harshly. Don't get dragged into it. Delete the video before someone takes it. Teenager, no, people need to see. Across the aisle, the businessman shifted in his seat, loosening his tie. His earlier smirk had vanished, replaced with unease. Businessman, to no one in particular. If she really is who she says she is, this could ruin the airline. Angela, turning her head slightly. Not the airline. Just those who let prejudice fly. Her words fell like a gavel. The wheels touched down, the roar of tires vibrating through the cabin. The plane slowed, jerking gently as it taxied. Angela reached for her phone. No drama, no raised voice, and just a single call. She spoke quietly, clearly into the receiver. Angela into phone. This is Dr. Angela Carter. I've just landed. I need executive leadership on standby. Every ear strained to listen. She ended the call within seconds, her tone calm, surgical. Passengers exchanged glances. The couple beside her whispered frantically. Wife. She wasn't lying. Husband. We should have said something sooner. Wife, biting her lip. It's too late now. Chelsea emerged from the galley, forcing a smile, but it cracked instantly under the weight of the silence. At the gate, uniforms waited. Airline officials, already sweating, stood stiff at the jet bridge. Their presence was not for Angela's removal, but for damage control. Passengers filed out cautiously, stealing glances. The teenage boy gave Angela a small nod, quiet solidarity. Angela inclined her head in acknowledgement. Chelsea stepped off last, her stride faltering as she realized the officials were staring at her. Not with support. With dread airline supervisor stern. Chelsea, we need to talk now. Chelsea, stammering. But she was... Angela, interrupting, precise. I will file my statement formally. You will receive it tonight. Her tone was not angry. It was final. Chelsea's face drained of color. For the first time, she understood the scale of the storm she had summoned. The narrator's voice. Power does not need volume. It needs presence. And nothing unsettles prejudice more than the quiet certainty of justice approaching. Angela walked past the officials, dignified, her tote over her shoulder, her bruise uncovered. She did not look back. She didn't need to. Behind her, Chelsea's future was already unraveling. The conference room was cold, sterile, walls lined with framed photos of aircraft. A long oak table stretched across the center, occupied by airline executives, union reps, and legal counsel. At the far end, Angela sat with poise, her bruise still visible but her posture unbroken. Chelsea sat opposite, uniform wrinkled, hair untidy, her confidence now brittle. Her hands twisted in her lap, knuckles white. The airline supervisor cleared his throat. "Supervisor, we're here to discuss a serious allegation, physical misconduct, racial bias, and unprofessional behavior on Flight 217. Ms. Carter, would you like to begin?" Angela's voice was measured, calm. "Angela, I will state only what happened. I boarded with a valid first-class ticket. I was questioned, humiliated, denied service, and ultimately struck across the face by this employee." Gasps rippled even among those who already knew. Chelsea flinched, Chelsea blurting, "That's not, she's twisting it." "She was aggressive. She was writing things down to threaten me." Angela, cutting in steady. "Documentation is not aggression. Assault is." The teenage boy and his mother were present as witnesses, seated nervously at the side. The boy's phone rested on the table, screen paused on the recording. Supervisor, gesturing. "Let's see the footage." The video played. The slap echoed in the sterile room, harsher than it had been in the cabin. Silence followed, heavier than before. Chelsea's face collapsed. "Chelsea," voice cracking. I didn't mean, she provoked me." Teenager, fierce, leaning forward. "She didn't provoke anything. You just couldn't stand seeing her in first class." Mother, soft, ashamed. "He's right. We saw everything. We stayed quiet when we shouldn't have." The businessman, brought in reluctantly, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Businessman, muttering. I may have laughed. I thought it was harmless." "It wasn't." Angela, turning toward him. "Your laughter was permission. Silence and laughter are the bricks that built this moment." He looked down, ashamed. Chelsea's tears began to flow, her voice desperate. "Chelsea, I've given years to this airline. One mistake, and you'll ruin me?" Angela, quiet, firm. "One mistake in the sky can bring down a plane. One act of prejudice can end a life. You knew the weight of your uniform and you chose cruelty." Her words cut sharper than any accusation. The airline counsel shifted papers, faced grim counsel. Given the video evidence, the corroborating testimonies, and the seriousness of this act, termination is immediate. Further investigation into criminal liability will proceed. Chelsea gasped, covering her mouth. "Chelsea, you can't." "I didn't mean." Angela, final, cold. "Intent does not erase impact. History is full of didn't mean to." The narrator's voice. "Tears of the oppressor fall often, but they water no justice. They only reveal fear of consequence, not sorrow for harm." Chelsea sobbed quietly, her career unraveling in real time. Angela stood, gathering her notebook. Her voice clear. "Angela, this is not about one woman. It is about a system that let her believe she was untouchable. That system ends when we choose to speak, to witness, to act." No one in the room could meet her gaze. Not the executives, not the witnesses, not even Chelsea. Angela left the room in silence, her heels clicking with precision. Each step the sound of authority reclaimed. The video hit the internet before the ink on Chelsea's termination papers was dry. 20 seconds. A slap, a gasp. A black woman sitting still, regal in her silence. It spread like fire across timelines, news feeds, evening broadcasts. Flight attendant slaps black woman in first class. Then the second headline hit harder. The black woman is the FAA Administrator. The world tilted. Angela's office phone rang nonstop, her aide scrambling. She sat behind her desk, steady as stone. Aide, rushing in. "Dr. Carter, CNN wants a statement. MSNBC, even international outlets. Angela, we release only one. No interviews. No spectacle. Truth speaks for itself." Meanwhile, Chelsea's name trended in hashtags, her face frozen mid-slap across millions of screens. Comment sections burned. Post 1. She hit the FAA Administrator. Over race? She's finished. Post 2. Imagine the arrogance and the irony. Justice served midair. Post 3 from a former coworker. Not surprised. Chelsea always treated certain passengers differently. The teenage boy's upload became the defining clip. He and his mother sat in their kitchen watching views skyrocket. Mother anxious. I didn't want you to post it, but maybe it mattered. Teenager, quiet, certain. People need to see what we all ignored. On the evening news, a panel debated systemic racism in airlines, passenger rights, and accountability. Angela's name was spoken with respect. Her face shone not as victim, but as authority. Chelsea, meanwhile, hid behind drawn curtains. Reporters crowded her lawn, microphones thrust at the closed door. Neighbors whispered. Former friends unfollowed. Reporter to camera. The airline has confirmed her dismissal. Sources say further legal action is under review. Online backlash is intense and her future prospects remain uncertain. Inside her darkened living room, Chelsea muttered to herself. Chelsea, desperate, whispering. It was just a slap. Just one mistake. Why won't it go away? But the world no longer looked away. Angela, preparing for a scheduled congressional briefing, adjusted her blazer before the mirror. The bruise on her cheek had faded into a shadow, but she chose not to cover it fully. Angela, to her aid. Let them see. Let them remember. The narrator's voice carried the weight of history. Some wounds must be visible, not hidden. Because the scar becomes the testimony, and testimony becomes change. As Angela walked toward the cameras, the nation leaned in, listening. The congressional chamber was packed, cameras clicking, flashes bursting like lightning. Rows of officials, journalists, and staff leaned forward as Angela Carter, FAA Administrator, approached the microphone. She wore navy blue, her bruise faint but visible. She had chosen not to hide it. Silence fell as she adjusted her notes, though she hardly needed them. Angela, firm, resonant. I was not assaulted as an administrator. I was assaulted as a black woman, traveling in a space where I was not believed to belong. That truth is bigger than me. It is about every passenger who has been profiled, silenced, disrespected, or endangered because of prejudice at 30,000 feet. The chamber shifted, some nodding, some averting their eyes. Angela, continuing, airlines pride themselves on safety. But safety is not just engines and wings. Safety is dignity. Safety is knowing you will not be struck or humiliated because of who you are. And dignity cannot be optional. It must be policy. Applause erupted, not polite but thunderous, rolling like a wave. Angela paused, steady, then lowered her voice. Angela, I stand here not for revenge. I stand here for change. I stand here because silence builds cages, and truth breaks them. The cameras flashed again, capturing her face, her words immortalized. Meanwhile, across town, Chelsea sat in a dim kitchen, television flickering. Her name had become shorthand for prejudice, her career erased, her reputation demolished. Former colleagues avoided her calls. Job applications were rejected before interviews. On the screen, Angela's speech played live. Chelsea stared, tears streaking her face, Chelsea whispering, she didn't even raise her voice. And she destroyed me. But deep down she knew Angela had not destroyed her. Chelsea's own actions had. Back in the chamber, the teenage boy and his mother sat quietly in the gallery watching. He clutched his phone, the one that had recorded everything. Teenager, to his mom, whispering, do you think she changed something today? Mother, softly with pride. Yes, she already has. The narrator's voice closed the story like a verdict. Prejudice thought it could slap silence onto dignity. But dignity spoke. It spoke in bruises, in videos, and names that carried weight. And when dignity speaks, the world must listen. Angela left the podium, heels clicking against marble, walking not into the shadows of victimhood, but into the light of history.